Have you seen these videos all over TikTok? Due to all of the sexual comments, what's going on in this video isn't being portrayed correctly and it's quite disturbing. Feminist protests swept France throughout February, in support of Julie, a pseudonym used by the French press to protect the identity of a young girl, now at the center of a legal challenge to change French age of consent law. Julie's case puts pressure on French legislators to introduce an age of consent law, which currently does not exist in the country. This fight has put the French elite on trial, with many powerful figures in France having opposed age of consent legislation for decades. It will have enormous ramifications on how France's bizarre historical tolerance for child sexual abuse is viewed in years to come. Julie was raped by 20 firefighters, over 100 times, between the ages of 13 and 15. The men, who all belonged to fire stations across the Parisian area, groomed Julie over a number of years after one of them met her while on duty, coming to her aid when she suffered a panic attack that led to breathing problems and fainting. Unlike in North America and other European countries, French firefighters often staff ambulances, aiding paramedics in their duties. That is how the original firefighter, Pierre C., met Julie, back in 2008. Then in his 20s, Pierre retrieved Julie's contact information from the intervention report, before circulating it to his colleagues, which clearly stated her age. She had just turned 13 years old. From the initial intervention report, the men knew everything about Julie's condition and that she was on heavy sedative medication as a result. Pierre contacted Julie on social media and began grooming her, visiting her at home under the pretext of checking on her health and recovery progress, which he used as an opportunity to rape her. After the first assault, Julie began suffering from social anxiety and depression that became so severe she dropped out of school and was placed on anxiolytics, antidepressants, and neuroleptics. For the following 2 years, she had numerous anxiety attacks manifesting in tetany, seizures and paralysis, which required the intervention of the firemen, acting as paramedics, who came to her bedside more than 130 times. Every time Julie required medical attention, the paramedics were called, and the firemen attending the scene took the opportunity to rape and abuse Julie, again and again. For 2 years Julie was targeted in this way, sexually abused when she was in need of medical assistance. The firemen had to fill out an intervention report each time, which documented Julie's treatment, her history of multiple suicide attempts, self-harm, and tetanic seizures. It was clear how vulnerable she was, but despite all of this, a total of 20 firefighters regularly forced and coerced Julie into intercourse. When Julie was 14, several firemen gang raped Julie at one of their apartments while watching pornography. She had just left a child psychiatric ward, only to return almost immediately, due to being re-traumatized by the assault. There, at the child psychiatric unit, Julie was raped by a firefighter who came to visit her, again under the pretext of checking on her health. This happened routinely, as this man, as well as other firefighters, would visit Julie in hospital and at her mother's home, sexually assaulting her under the guise of checking up on her recovery. 2 years after this ordeal began, during a break from her sedative medication, Julie told her parents what happened. Julie's family contacted the police, but the police did not take the complaint seriously. Julie was asked inappropriate questions by police, leading her to implicate herself as a participant rather than a victim. The police determined what had happened constituted sexual violation, which under French law roughly means sexual misconduct, referring to a sexual assault that is very minor, not rape, a decision that garnered international attention and outcry. In her first ever statement to the public, Julie had a message for her rapists: "You thought that you killed me, but now it's your turn to shake." Her words have called others to courage, leading to online condemnation of the perpetrators and women filling the streets, demanding justice. In practice, the lack of an age of consent law in France means it must be proven, in court, that a minor did not consent. They are treated just like adult victims are. In France, victims of rape and sexual assault are required to provide evidence they were forced, even if they were underage at the time. So, a sexually abused 6-year-old must still testify in court that they did not consent to rape. One way perpetrators secure their impunity is by targeting those who are less likely to be able to speak out about what happened, in this case, a young girl suffering from fits and on strong sedatives. Because children are developing and figuring out right from wrong, which adults are trustworthy and which are not, they make excellent targets for sexual abuse. The police decided to act, but not against all of the men. Of the 20 firefighters, only 3 were ever investigated and only charged with sexual violation. The 3 men were charged under a law that stipulates it is an offense for those in positions of authority to engage in sex with individuals younger than 18. In other words, the police determined Julie was consenting, but that the men should not have had sex with her because of their positions as authority figures. Under French law, rape convictions can lead to 2 decades in prison, but those charged with sexual violation can only receive a maximum sentence of up to 7 years. During the 10 years of proceedings following the assaults, Julie made several suicide attempts, including throwing herself out of a window, leaving her physically disabled. Julie's lawyers are working to appeal the original judgment, asking for a new trial, and trying to ensure all 20 men face rape charges.